What's up? It's your boy, Fallen Angel, aka ANG, aka Greg Blackson here with the Greg Blackson Report. Derrick Lewis versus Junior Dos Santos. I'm gonna give it to you raw. I'm gonna give it to you real. I'm gonna give it to you trill. You know what I mean? That's how I gotta do it. No watered down shit like you see everybody else doing. No biased shit like you see the UFC commentators doing either. The real deal here. You know what I mean? Gotta give a shout out. I hate spilled bag of ice. I hate that motherfucker's guts. You know what I mean? Follow him. Twitter, Instagram, spilled bag of ice. At spilled bag of ice. That's my boy. You know. Also, check me out at FallenAngel510 on the big three. That's Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm doing music now and I'm dabbling in that field. So you can check me out. SoundCloud.com/FallenAngel510. And if you're a gamer, Twitch.tv/TrillTalkTV. But most important of all, got some big fights coming up this year. If you support my fight career, want to help me keep that going. If you support my music, want to help me keep that going. But my most important thing, hashtag Goon Pet Foundation on Instagram. I currently house about 21, 22 rescued animals that were injured and just fucked up. But I love animals. It's costly, as well as I help find homes for a lot of animals on the streets out here in Asia. And I try to give to different foundations. So my patreon.com/FallenAngel510, give whatever you can, help the cause. There's currently a home in Thailand, 1,200 dogs. They're trying to keep up, but they can't. I'm trying to build up money to donate there and create a video for all of you. So get on all that, smash that like, smash that subscribe, smash those notifications, and we're about to jump into it now. First fight I'm getting into is Beneil Dariush, Drew Dober. I actually thought Drew Dober was gonna win this fight. I was wrong. If I was bet, I was wrong. Thanks, Drew Dober. But I just didn't think that Dariush had the wrestling to get him down, or the striking to keep up with him, or the chin to keep up with him. And I still feel like I was right on all accounts, because you can lose a fight because a person is better than you. You can lose a fight because you lost to yourself. I feel like that's what Drew Dober did here. You know, Dariush, he didn't take the shots well, as I expected. He didn't have the punching power to keep Drew Dober off, as I expected. But Drew Dober literally did everything that you could do to give the fight away. First of all, you know he wants to get you to the ground. Drew Dober, his first thing is, what I knew about him is that the longer the fight went, it was going to get worse for him, because the guy puts everything in every punch, and you see him wane. If you really watch his fights, he wanes after round one each round. So I was like, okay, after round one, he starts to go downhill. He starts to look worse and worse as the rounds go on. But I still felt that he could win, knowing this prior. One thing, he kept throwing the same combination over and over. It was like the right hook, left straight, right hook, left straight, right hook, left straight, over and over. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no diversity to his combinations. Luckily, Dariush isn't the kind of striker that'll catch on to that. He doesn't have that kind of strike in mind to notice these things, and he was getting hit by everything. But people are going, Greg Blackson, why didn't he put him away then? Drew Dober would throw his body forward. You know, in boxing they teach you, they always say, oh, punch behind your knee. Punch behind your knee. Don't put your head over your knee, because your body's leading the punches, not the punches leading the body, if you guys understand that. And Drew Dober throws his entire body over his knee. So while he was landing on Dariush and hurting him, he's going like this and going to him. And that's why you would always see Dariush be able to clinch up. If you observe the fight, it was never Dariush going to clinch with Drew Dober. It was Drew Dober throwing himself body to body with Dariush, where he was able to clinch. That right there seems small, but it changes the fight drastically, because now he can hold on and recover every single time you hurt him, which he did. He can go for takedowns now every single time, which he did. Because if you also look, he never was shooting in for these takedowns. Drew Dober was giving it to him. So Dairush on his part, if I was him, I would have had more. You got a power puncher in front of you with decent movement. You have to move more. He was standing in a stationary place the whole time. So I don't know what his coaches were yelling to him. That's something he should have done better. He wouldn't have taken the kind of damage he did. And then he was throwing, they were both southpaws. He was throwing the outside lead leg kick. And it was like making Drew Dober go like this, kind of buckle him. I would have had him work that leg more and work the head more as well. So there was a lot he could have done better on his part to not even have taken that damage, which is the key point of the fight. You want to get in and out without damage. But the last part, Drew Dober just going like, I don't understand why he tried to wrestle him at the end instead of backing up. It was crazy. And Elias Marshall, I wish I could remember. There was one part of the fight he was saying something. Oh, he was mounted by Dairush, and Elias Marshall being a black belt. I was just ashamed of him. You know, I don't know what it is. It's a big difference. It's so many differences between boxing and MMA, obviously. But the way boxers train their fighters and the way boxers corner their fighters, for the most part, because some our shit is so superior to MMA. And here's a black belt, a respectable one, with his fighter mounted, and he's just saying, ref, the guy's not doing anything. As he's actually, let me backstep, he was passing the half guard about to go into mount and elbowing him and sending it up. Oh, he's not doing anything, ref. Stand up. He's not doing anything, ref. Stand up. You got to give you have to give usable information to your athlete. That's obviously not where you want it to be. There were like 5 trillion things better he could have been telling them. But Drew Dober's demise in the end was obviously going to wrestle him for no goddamn reason. You have to have, I don't believe in having a clear, concrete strategy, because then if it goes wrong on a mental level, things will just crash for you and it will go wrong physically if your plan doesn't work. But you have to have a loose strategy, which you should and shouldn't do a layout. And I just feel like he either didn't have that or he didn't listen to it. It was real disappointing on both fighters' parts for different reasons. Dairush should have been, there was a lot he could have done to not take the damage and make the fight be over sooner, and there was a lot Drew Dober could have done to never allow the fight to get to that point. Learn from it, kids. You know, that's the Greg Blackson report on that fight. Next fight up, Big Ben Rothwell versus Blagoy, Ivanov, Ignatov, whatever, however you say his last name. I just didn't like it. I gotta be honest. I just didn't like the fight. So, Greg Blackson, why do you like the fight? It's easier said than done, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you're judgmental. You're not that good yourself. People gonna say whatever the fuck they want to say, but okay. Here's the thing. First of all, the layoff clearly affected Ben Rothwell. I like Big Ben, always have. You know what I mean? I'm an OG in the game myself, not jumping into the shit like many of these kids. So I've been watching all these guys before they were in UFC. Josh Barnett, Demetrius Johnson, Khabib, GSP, all you guys fucking heroes, Anderson Silva, Daniel Cormier, JDS, I was watching long before they went in UFC. So I do my studying ahead of time, but I've always liked Big Ben. Over time, I began to like him more as his style changed, but he was clearly off. He was slow. He was plodding. There were no feint like he usually does with his weird movement. This time, his weird movement and style and weird feints went to just an extended hand and hand here half the time like this. That's not doing anything. It's workable defensively if a person's far, but if a person's close, everything is going right over or under. It just wasn't the same. And then he was literally like in a cadence, 1 2 1 2 when he's walking, and I'm like, as soon as I saw the fight, I was like, oh no, Big Ben, let the monster out, you know. But plus the size difference was crazy, and the height difference was crazy. So there was a lot of advantages. Yeah, and the experience difference was crazy. So I didn't want to see Big Ben lose. Did I think he lost? I didn't. I personally didn't even think he lost. If I had to give a winner, I would give him, or I would give the fight even a draw. When I'm like something, I feel that these judges should give more draws than ripping a person off. Honestly, that's how I feel about it. Anyways, if you look at Blagoy, he was a southpaw and he was always circling to his right leg, just like circle, 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 circle. It was the same direction the entire fight. It's like 52 ways you could stop a person from circling one direction, and like 104 traps you could set for a person that's circling one direction to lead them into your punches and kicks, and Ben did none of them. Circling one direction was enough to get Ben Rothwell off of him, because Ben Rothwell was walking in a cadence, which isn't even how he usually is. So that allowed Blagoy, when he was taking damage, to get away so the damage doesn't accumulate or add up to the point where he could get knocked out or recover if he was hurt, and just collect himself every time there was an exchange he didn't like. So that was real. It was disconcerting to me and disturbing. I was like, come on, Ben, you have way more experience than that. Then another thing is Ben Rothwell was getting hit, and Blagoy had a good left straight to the body, but he didn't have a good left straight in general, which is usually the punch most southpaws have good. And if you look at a lot of southpaws, they're devoid of a good jab. Some have a good right hook, most a decent defensive one for the most part in southpaws that they throw when they feel crowded. But most southpaws have a good left straight. That's what you look out for the most. And he didn't even have that, besides to the body. And then it was an overhand looping left straight that he would throw sometimes, and it can only hit Ben if Ben was right this close to him, which usually is when it hit him. He should never be that close. Being that tall, don't fight tall, fight long. There's a difference. Look at Stephen Struve. Stephen Struve always fights tall, and he gets hit way more than the person his height should. Simi Schilt used to fight tall. Once he learned how to fight long, which was way further in his career, he won the Grand Prix 3 times in a row. So you got to fight long. Ben wasn't doing that. Then his kicks, he should have been using the kicks more. And it was an odd thing to see. Blagoy, he doesn't look like a guy that's going to go very far in the heavyweight division. Ben, with the rust off, I believe that he could go far into the heavyweight division again, because he was already up there. But the fight shows you a lot of things not to do. You have to be able to adjust to something that's consistent in a fight. What I mean by that is, if a guy is always going one way in a fight, you have to adjust. If a guy is always throwing one combination or two combinations only in a fight, you have to be able to adjust. If you're only getting hit by something when you do something wrong, you have to be able to adjust to it. And he wasn't adjusting to those things that Blagoy was doing. The left straight to the body, constantly moving to the right, and then that loopy overhand left. Another thing is, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought Ben Rothwell was orthodox, but he was fighting this fight southpaw, which I felt was a mistake, because I thought he was an orthodox fighter. But if you notice, when he was orthodox in that fight is when he did the most damage to Blagoy. But then he would always go back southpaw. and that's where he would do less damage and get damage more. It didn't make sense to me. I don't remember if he is a southpaw that's ambidextrous or orthodox that's ambidextrous. I believe it's orthodox that's ambidextrous. If that is the case, I have no idea why he was fighting southpaw anyways. If he's a southpaw that's ambidextrous, he should have noticed himself, or his corner, please corners do this, noticed that the orthodox was working more. And I felt like if he stayed orthodox, he could have ended up finishing the fight. That's what I saw in that fight, and that's the Greg Blackson report. What's up, guys? Curtis Melinder. How do we say that damn name? Elizu Zaleski Dos Santos. I don't know how to say it. I'm probably slaughtering it, but I don't know, man. The commentary was killing me in this fight. Let me think. Who was it? Paul Felder, I believe, doing the commentary. He was like, Melinder said this guy doesn't want to strike with him. This guy's going to try to take him down. He knows it. That's what he's been training for. And then he shoots a double and gets taken down with the very first shot the guy takes. To me, personally, that doesn't look like... It's either a perfect time shot, or you weren't training for that the way you say you were, and it's just hubris coming out your mouth and bullshit, which I believe it was. I remember my boy Dr. Jekyll fought Melinder a long time ago, and he was cocky then, and it seems like he's still that way now. And people would be like, man, he beat your boy, you might be hating. But here's the thing, I don't know if you guys listen. Paul Felder, which I believe it was, again, so Melinder's on the bottom, and they said that he felt he could not be kept down because he had been wrestling for 20 years. Whoever believes that a fool. Whoever believes that is a fool. At the beginning of his career, way back when he fought my boy Cheney, he was a striker then and didn't look like he could wrestle worth a damn. It's years later, he's a striker now, a better one than then, and doesn't look like he could wrestle worth a damn. People who have wrestled for years, for that many years, especially if you've wrestled at a higher level, it's just things you can see. It's a certain strength that wrestlers have. I don't know if any of you have ever played around with wrestlers or wrestled yourselves. It's a type of strength they have that only they have. It's a type of movement that they have that only they have. A type of explosiveness they have that only they have. A scrambling ability that only they have. He depicted none of these physical attributes. It was like on the bottom, he had no explosiveness, no wrestling tactics. The guy was in his half guard. He never grabbed the guy's leg and went to all fours to a single. If that was Ben Askren, first of all, Ben Askren wouldn't even be there, but let's just say it was Ben Askren and he had a guy in his half guard. He already knows he could slide the back leg out, go to a dog position while holding the leg, and drive up to a single and turn that single to a double. Yeah, y'all didn't know. Y'all didn't know your boy know that wrestling, no, did y'all? But he didn't try that. He was just on his side getting elbowed. There was no hip bumping. There was nothing that show indicated to me any physical attributes of being a wrestler at all. Even practicing wrestling in an MMA gym, and yet alone wrestling for 20 years. Then there was a point when he kicked Dos Santos off of him, and he like turtled over and was on all fours, and the guy just runs back and gets on him. That would never ever happen to a wrestler. Let me tell you something, as an athlete, as a person, as a human being in life, you will never accomplish anything, or you will accomplish the minimum of what you can accomplish not being honest with yourself. And have pride, have confidence, have these things, but do not just blatantly lie to yourself, because then you're going to neglect building parts of yourself as an athlete, if you're in that sport, or just as a human being, or whatever field you're in. If you lie to yourself, sorry, I gotta get psychological, philosophical, but it is what it is. No matter what field you're in life, no matter what kind of relationship you got, the shit ain't gonna go the way it could go. It ain't gonna be optimum if you ain't telling yourself the truth. And that motherfucker is lying to himself. Listen to fucking Greg Blackson when I tell you he is. So that's all I got to say about that fight. That's the biggest lesson. Don't lie to yourself, and you'll do better, people. You know, he got submitted by a fucking another striker. He got out wrestled by a striker. That's like Michael Page getting out wrestled by Simtex. And I'll leave you with that, folks. That's the Greg Blackson report. Dirty Bird. Tim Means, you know, oh God. Oh my God. You know, Tim Means, that's my dude right there. That motherfucker know what's up. I'm mad at Tim Means, just like I'm mad at Nick Diaz, mad at Nate Diaz, mad at Danny Castillo, mad at Uriah Faber, mad at Daniel Cormier, mad at John Fitch, mad at Mike Swig. I'm mad at everybody because I've been out here a long time whooping ass on the under in like faux sports, Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA, boxing. All these motherfuckers, I done been in training camps with everybody. Long time. Everybody know what's up. And somebody need to be on that Khabib shit and be like, get Greg Blackson in the UFC, since I really should have been in there like 5 times. The 5 times I did shit. And they said doing, they still didn't let me in. But why, how does this relate to Tim Means? Because Tim Means was the commentator when I beat Joe Daddy, who they said beat, and I would be in the UFC. And Tim Means, he know what's up. It was nothing but praise on there. So I got, and we talked backstage about training together. So I got nothing but love for Dirty Bird, even though he ain't said Greg Blackson in there, you know, but I still love him. So with that being said, I was sad when he lost. Greg Blackson, you talking about yourself. We want to know why he lost. I'm going to tell you something. Honesty again. Evaluate yourself compared to your opponent honestly. So Tim Means, if I look at it, here's how I looked at it from the outside. I was like, I give the wrestling to Nico Price, but not by much. I give the jiu-jitsu to Nico Price, but Tim Means is good with MMA jiu-jitsu, so I didn't give him as big of an edge as it would be in only a jiu-jitsu competition. Striking was the main part, so I was like, Dirty Bird is durable. He has the better striking technique, but I've seen enough of Nico Price to know he's like Brunson. He don't gotta have the technique, but in that 4-ounce glove, he got something in his fucking hands that's putting people down and hurting people. So I was like, I don't like that, because Tim Means ain't the dude to put you away like that. He'll start to and put you away that way. So I was like, I don't like that. How would I do this? So the way I would inform them, fight long. Here we are again, not fight tall. Fight long and use feints. See how the guy reacts. Sometimes singular punches, boom, boom. And then when you see he's reacting wrong to the singular punches, put combinations together. When he's reacting real bad to the combinations, put longer combinations together. And if you look, Tim Means was doing this for the most part. So now people are going to say, well, he was doing that for the most part, Greg Blackson. What went wrong? Exactly. What went wrong? I tell you what went wrong. Tim Means was like this doing that. Always directly in front of a power puncher. You can't do that. If you throwing your combinations, you got to back up and get out of range of their return fire. If you throwing your combinations, you got to throw your combinations with your hands up, bringing them back to your face. If you throw your combinations, you got to have your head movement. Tim Means was throwing the combination standing directly in front of Nico Price with his hands down with no head movement. So the return shots was getting them. And when Nico Price went first at the beginning, it hurt Tim Means bad. So you got to adjust. You gotta adjust. If you got the 22 and maybe he got the 40 cal, you know, you can't stand there just in the shootout. It's okay to duck behind the box, you know what I mean, and pop out with the 22 and dump on him. And he just sat out in the open, playing shot for shot too long. And if you look, another evaluation that I saw throughout the fight, when Nico was hitting Tim Means, it was having devastating effect. When Tim Means, who was landing combinations on Nico, it still wasn't having any devastating effect like it looked like he was going to get knocked out or finished the way it looked when Tim Means was getting hit. So I was watching the fight, I was like, I don't like this. All it got to take is one mistake. And as I'm thinking this, Tim Means hit him with a combination and he threw a counter punch, the right hook, boom. No head movement, standing tall, chin up, hands down, done. So you have to evaluate the situation you're going into. Who has more speed, who has more power, who has the better footwork. There's a lot of variables that go into striking with somebody that you have to take into account. And if you're a corner man and you're seeing things go wrong, you have to be able to take these into account on the fly and yell things to your fighter, hoping that they listen. I can't say with who is he with the Vons, they OGs down there in New Mexico. I can't say what they were saying to him, couldn't hear. But Tim Means is experienced enough to where I feel like he should have been able to evaluate this himself. But most fighters are emotional fighters. I happen to be a thinking one. I always think when I'm in there. There's a few other guys I know that think a lot when they're in there, but very few. But I hope Dirty Bird come back, man. You know, Nico Price, I be listening to his story. He just trying to get that cash for his kids. I respect that. I'm a single dad myself. I respect that shit. So happy to see him win, sad to see Tim Means win. But that's what you got to do. That's what went wrong in that fight, and that's the Greg Blackson report. Black Beast hitting all up on my spill bag of ice shirt because I hate that motherfucker. So everybody know I'm black power like fuck. Even though black people be hating on black people, you know what I mean? Y'all gonna be like, man, why I gotta be about that? Why I gotta be about that? But it ain't, man. Cut me some fucking slack, people. It ain't a lot of black people in the goddamn sport. Look how they hated on me being in there. You know what I mean? So I like trying to see black people, but I like Dos Santos. I always have. So what went wrong in this fight? Well, first of all, I seen a report that Derrick Lewis came in hurt. I tell you like this. Let me tell you guys a little story. So 8,000 years ago, I was the #1 contender for Tai Chi Palace's belt Brian Cobb had at the time. So they book a fight between me and Brian Cobb for the belt, and the winner goes to UFC. There's one of the many times UFC and everybody fucked me over in my career. So as the fight is coming up, Brian Cobb gets taken to the UFC without beating me to fight Terry Edom, where he got fucked up. So I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Let me backtrack. Slow down. So as the fight is coming up, Tai Chi, first of all, let me tell you how fucked up this is, takes me out of my spot and puts Carlo Prater, who never fought there before, in my spot. Then the fight's getting closer and closer. I end up breaking a rib in training. So I was like, oh, that's fucked up. And this was just training for nothing at this point, because I wasn't in the fight anymore. When the fight is like 2 weeks away, a week, and then the week before cutting week, Brian Cobb gets taken to UFC without beating me and loses to Terry Edom. So Tai Chi calls me back to fight Brian Cobb. So I have 5 losses in my career, in period, in 4 sports. 4 of them are complete fucking bullshit. And this is the only legit one, but it was because of the choice I made. I went and fought Carlo Prater and went 5 rounds with him with a broke rib and lost the decision. I lost. I made that choice. Why am I telling this story? Because it did nothing for me. He went to the UFC. They gave him that deal afterwards. I didn't. I used to think it was the warrior thing, an honorable thing to do. Go in injured. Don't let the fans down. Don't this, don't that. Blah, blah, blah. It does nothing for you. They ain't paying you no extra money. They ain't gonna remember the favors. Dana White or nobody gonna care, but they gonna care that you lost. It's gonna fuck up your career. It's a setback. So I feel Derrick Lewis shouldn't have done that. And he didn't even look the same in that fight. And I don't think that, I don't want to discredit Dos Santos. I don't think that Derrick Lewis didn't look the same only because he was injured. There was a speed discrepancy. So Dos Santos, everybody knew, was way faster. Greg Blackson, how do you deal with that? He has to deal with that by putting forward pressure. Dos Santos has a very notable weakness to his style. He can only fight going forward. Not many can fight going backwards, I know. But many know how to go backwards and cut an angle to where they can reset and start forward motion again. He doesn't. You back him up and he feels too much pressure, he goes to the fence, and then for some reason he feels like he can play the fence, which he can't. And then when he plays the fence with his hands down. And then when his hands down, he takes damage. Many of the times that's where his losses came from. Now let's play that out with a power puncher like Derrick Lewis. He would definitely get knocked out with those bad habits in that position. But Derrick Lewis didn't put the forward pressure enough to manifest this scenario. Number 1. So this leaves Dos Santos in his best form, which is going forward, with a great speed discrepancy between the two. That was already a disadvantage to Derrick Lewis. What other ways could he stop that? Kicking. Dos Santos doesn't take leg kicks well. So Derrick Lewis could have kicked that more, which stops the forward motion, which slows down and changes the speed discrepancy. He didn't do that enough either, which still allowed Dos Santos to do this. Then you have Derrick Lewis, who keeps his hands like this all the time. Okay. Dos Santos' best punch has always been the jab to the body and the overhand right. Always. It's never changed. Followed with his right uppercut. Jab, right uppercut. So jab, overhand right, jab, right uppercut is never changed. Those are his 2 best combinations. He was always letting them get too close, and now Derrick Lewis is putting himself against the fence, which is the worst thing you could do with somebody with technically better boxing than you, way more speed and footwork than you, and then you're taller than. Because the overhand is the punch for tall people anyways, that you want to use on tall people anyways. And then your hands are down by your breast, by your fucking nipples. That's why he was always getting hit with the overhand right. And he was only getting hit with it. Dos Santos was smart. He was using the overhand right when Derrick Lewis was against the fence. Because when your back's against the fence, you stand even taller. And it was hurting Derrick Lewis, who's a hard guy to hurt to the head. But real tactical on Dos Santos' part, and played wrong on Derrick Lewis' part. Without discrediting Dos Santos, I don't know if it was because he was hurt, but I tell you like this, even hurt, tactically it seemed flawed. So I have to be honest, tactically it seemed flawed, period. Because even if he was hurt the way he said, it was still him jumping around acting like he's going to do flying knees and high kicks and stuff. That showed me at some movement. So there were still things he could have tactically done better. I like both fighters, so I would have been sad to see one lose no matter what. But hope Lewis get back on the fence. He will. His ball's hot. Everybody like that shit. You know, Dos Santos wants to fight Ngannou next. I'll leave my thoughts for when that fight's coming up. But that's the Greg Blackson report on that. Thanks for tuning in. Like I said, get at me. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, Patreon, at Fallen Angel 510, and Twitch, Trill Talk TV. See y'all next time. And I gotta leave with an outro. I did one of these for that Kevin Lee Iaquinta card. It was legendary. Kevin Lee would have hired me as his coach. That's another motherfucker that he black. He should be telling them, get me in there. But, you know, I did one on that fight. Kevin Lee would have hired me after his coach of that breakdown, and I would have went from Greg Blackson to Dom Rogan. It was legendary. I put like snippets of fights in there and paused it and was drawing arrows in the screen and shit to break everything down. It was beautiful. Then UFC banned my shit. Copyright fucking infringement shit. I hate them. I hate them. I barely used any footage, like 10 seconds of footage each goddamn fight. So sorry about that, guys. I'm gonna try to sneak it out there one day, but catch y'all next time. That's the Greg Blackson Report.